Hi, everybody. If you're 45 or older, talk to your doctor, schedule a colonoscopy. I believe the sound is on. We've got our camera on. I can see everything. We're going to be doing my first defoliation and kind of lollipop and all that kind of jazz. Just going to clean this one up a little bit. This is the Vega's Greasy Grape. It is a local genetic to my town, or at least the person that I got it from is in my town, and they are an actual official Minnesota genetic. It's just that there's a few of them that are working on it. Anyways, we're probably in the first solid week of flower, maybe the second. Some leaves are starting to senesce, and it's not the one that's senescing the most, but there is some purpling going. Well, I guess that's shadowing too, but I don't know. For what it is, it's a good plant. This thing got frostbite on its first night outside, and it was a toothpick afterwards. It just had a couple of little white lumps or little green lumps on the stem. So it spent about a month in the shade getting pampered, and it's done a fine job. I mean, look at it's first of all, it's all level. You guys know how I like level plants. And now it's going to be lollipop. So we're going to find out what it's like to lollipop. That's what the bottom looks like now. So there's not a whole lot of growth down there, not a whole lot of anything down there. Some of these smaller chunks here, I'll be getting rid of those. And any of that brown or yellowing leaves. And then we'll be left with the green growth here. You can see the underside of the leaves are turning purple. That's sometimes a sign of trichomes. I have not looked at this plant with a loupe yet. So why don't we do that now? Anyways, thanks everybody for stopping in today. Yeah, like look at this leaf here. Anybody that's watching that's growing plants you got from me, why don't you hit me up and let me know how you're doing? A couple people have, so that's nice. A couple of people were watching the videos about the budworms around here. Wow. Ho 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 ho. No, it's purple already. I mean, it's not all purple, but it's a beautiful purple. Trichome purple. Let me put it on 60 magnify here. We got mosquitoes. Okay, the leaves that are coming out, some of them are purple. The trichomes are clear. They are huge. The trichomes themselves are very nice big balls. So I see white hairs, purple and green leaves, and big white trichomes. that are all either clear or cloudy. We're going to look underneath one of these leaves, or a couple of these leaves. I know this purpling on here a lot of times is trichomes. Not today, that's the stem there. It's just the stem's purple. Boy, I'm speechless. Not really. I mean, my ice cream cake from last year really was frosted up, and then that purple punch lemon drizzle is very much more frosty. But, and it is turning purple too. It has darker leaves, but it's doing the purple senescing. There isn't much yellow in that other one. It's in a little bit bigger of a pot, so it probably had some more nutrients than anything else. What do we got here now? What's up, Doc? How's it going, brother? I was just stopped in the ears, and then when he said you were gonna take off, I thought, well, shoot, I was just gonna freaking click on. I'm busy until the freaking sun is way down around here. We're gonna be cleaning up. I don't usually defoliate or anything, but we are today. This one was stunted. It got frostbite on its first night out, lost every branch, every leaf, and had, something like this coming out of the branch, and that was the only green that was left on there. This is a genetic from my hometown, Minnesota's second legal grow, but first year you've been able to purchase legal seeds, I believe, if I remember right. I was able to get some. Anyways, let's see. Very nice. I got a pack from a friend who knows the people, or one of the people that are running this genetic here. So, or at least creating this genetic. I'm running it. Some little nuggy spots on there, but not incredible. Anyways, I found a very nice cut here recently, and I'm already planning my next year's grow, but my favorite, I think, thing that's going to be to run next year is a home genetic of mine from my power plant from last year, and a male plant that I believe was either a headband or a headbands of some sort, or a runts. Right now, it does not have any sign of flower yet, other than some goofy leaves coming out the top. But you touch the stem here, and it's a really spread node, so I don't know. That's probably part of the runts in it, if it is a runts. You touch the stem, and it's the first time I've been able to touch a stem, a big part of the stem, and come away with sticky fingers. And this one here, I can see trichomes all over in it, but it's not doing that here. So I can't wait to see how that one finishes. I still got to get a cut or two from a couple of things. I have, I believe, located somebody to be the keeper of the cuts. I unfortunately am unable to do it around here. And it's somebody that's new to growing. And I think will benefit from the peace you get from growing these things, at least most of the time. And he's only going to be for the first while. Although he grew this year, he's not going to have an indoor flowering tent or nothing like that. That's going to be too big of a learning curve. But keeping a house plant, which basically is what he's going to be doing with these, I think he's going to do swell, and it's going to benefit him. His whole family got in on the grow this year. I was so happy. When he showed me pictures, I busted out in tears because he'd never grown anything before other than, maybe a hosta in the ground or something like that, as far as what he told me. So I was very proud of that, and then he made a video of himself. That was cool. So check that out. It's on there. He would really appreciate it. I told him he was already getting comments, so anyways, I've got like 3 pair of new trimmers here. And though I'm not affiliated with these guys, I mean, it says Soulfire on it, so I better shout them out. I do hear they have some fire genetics, I will say. Anyways, since it's new to me, you guys see me doing anything stupid? I mean, granted, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure for sure you don't want to defoliate after 2 weeks or so. At least do a major defoliation. A lot of this brown stuff is dead already, so the plant's not going to feel that. But I am going to be taking off some of this stuff here. Now, because I didn't train this one out completely like I did the cream cheese, which is pretty much 90% trained out, and the golden goat, which is 100% trained out, that thing, there's no need for any trellising on that thing. You don't need to worry about the branches tipping over. That thing's going to swell up like crazy, and it's completely supporting itself. But some of this stuff, I don't expect it to get too big, but too big and then want to fall over. So that's not going to be the factor why we're removing this. It's because it's not going to really do anything. And I could just let this thing keep growing like it is. I mean, there's one thing, we got budworms around here, which is the first experience with budworms I've ever had. But we've got 2 layers of canopy. We got the upper canopy, inner canopy, and there's nothing else that we really have to worry about getting light. But maybe around the outside, we'll leave a couple of them. But, I plan on taking this much and down. So we're going to leave this top, say, almost a third, but probably not quite the whole third. Oh, and then, I'm going to let these tips dry out a little bit. And I want to see, they're pretty hard. I mean, that's dense. I'm going to see how that presses in a few weeks, couple weeks, whatever it is. It's going to dry really fast anyways, and I already cut off the stem and stuff, so. But yeah, here's that's what the leaf looks like. If you can see that. Let's see, move that light there. How it's senescing. These girls are getting fermented plant juices, compost teas. Every once in a while, I'll blow a puff of smoke on them once in a while, They are getting every week as permitted. If it's freaking raining or really freaking steamy out there, I won't do it. But magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt, Fuller sprays. Let's see. Oh no! Yeah, shit. My buddy's got squirrels. He's pissed. He's like, my wife got a squirrel in my bucket. I'm pissed. Oh no. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's see. I thought my phone was charging, man. It's almost dead. Damn things. All right, I will be right back in just a half a second here. I just texted a couple people. I gotta take a leak. What's up? So this is Vega's greasy grape. This here is a hometown genetic. So that's from Forest Lake. If anybody, any of you guys are watching, I got this pack of seeds from a customer that assists him in his life at some point during the week or day or whatever. And she said she knew who somebody that wanted some fire genetics, and he's like, you know what? I think we got some fire genetics. I'd like to give you some to have them grow. I don't know if he gave them to her or if she purchased them and then gave them to me. Either way, I'm very grateful. This person knows who she is. And everybody knows how great a person she is. We're not likely to run into her on here. It's possible, she knows where I'm at on this thing. Maybe at some point she'll be watching. What up? 45 or older, talk to your doctor, schedule a colonoscopy, get on that telephone. This is the telephone ringing, ring, ring, ring. I've got a couple of different kinds of smoke right now. I was gifted some fine hash recently, fine bubble hash, but I have to get some more of this here. But that is a 20-year cultivar, 20-year-old cultivar cut of white rhino. So this mother plant has been recloned over the years, probably 100 times. We got flies in here. Anyways, what I was talking with a friend. He may be watching now. I'm not going to call him out until he tells me he wants me to call him out, but hopefully him and his family decide they want to be a library or a stable or whatever you want to call it, keeper of the cuts. And I can get a hold of this. Let's say I believe that's what I heard. I'd like to believe a lot of things, but that's what I believe I heard. If not, that's fine. But I will tell you, this is a fine, and I'd almost want to say original. I do want to say this is like the original. Maybe not. But just by the way it tastes to me, the way it smokes, the way it feels, I don't know. It's pretty damn good. Pretty good damn smoke. Anyways, I'm going to fire up a bong. Anybody with me? What are we smoking on? If anybody's listening. And then Aaron, if you're listening, did you try that? Did you try that nug? What did you think? That's what I'm smoking on right now. I want to get just a little bit more of that. Of course, it's I did only show the one side of this. Here's the top. And turn a little bit, and I think you get better light. Woo! Anyways, we are going to be doing a process that I've never done before, heard a lot about, thought this would be a good example to use, a good plant to use an example. That's what we're going to do. Here's some other stuff. He might have told me what it was, but these chunks are smaller now, but there's a bunch of purple in these ones. It's a pretty good look at it. All right. Well, we're going to set up this other freaking TV, and then we're going to go to town on this plant. Basically, the idea is we've got all this stuff under here that's not getting any light or getting very little light. Either way, the plant only concentrates on this much plant as far as giving energy, the first foot or so of the top. No matter if the top is this big around, this big around sitting on top here, and it's a foot long, the plant's going to concentrate on that the most. And then this stuff here would be like concentrated on secondary. So that would be your big top cola would be your premium. These would be your secondaries, and they would be like a B bud. And then any of this inner stuff in here, which is the inner canopy, would be C buds. Anything other than that is pretty much garbage to me, unless you're like doing a bubble hash wash and it's a nice fluffy, full of trichome flower. A few of these had bud worms, and I plucked them off, hoping that the branches under them would kind of take over and fill in. I think there's a few of them that are a good branch, but I'm just going to take it off anyways. Okay. This plant was trained with my trainers, and that was up until probably 3 weeks ago, I guess. But it was only trained for like 3 or 4 weeks too. So because it was so stunted and originally, it grows fast. Once you train them out, they grow fast. All right, I'm not getting that rip in. Anyways, here's we'll see some of the senescing on this plant here. That's what they call that, is senescing. It's when your plant starts to consume itself, starts picking out the nutrients it needs. The colder weather also brings out some of that purpling, so that's why you would have noticed it in the last couple of days, just all of a sudden, boom. I've noticed it on mine. So by the way, anyways, that the darker green plant is the Purple Punch Lemon Drizzle. The slower growing, the one that looks a little food deficient, the lighter colored plant, is the Blueberry Sprinkle. They are two different kinds. This one is Vega's Greasy Grape. And I call that a smoke screen. Ha ha ha. All right, anyways. Thanks everybody for stopping in and watching. Basically, you start at the bottom and just start taking everything off that isn't going to reach the top of the canopy. So if it doesn't reach this much, anything up here, cut it off. Boom, boom, all the way down, all the way up. I don't care which direction you go. The the idea behind this is you're getting rid of all this stuff that ain't going to produce anything. And all that energy then is going to go to the rest of the plant. I'm kind of thinking the way it looks to me is the plant loved eating up all this nutrients that was in the leaves. It still is, right? It's like well, there's a lot of different reasons why people do different things, but I don't know. It is what it is. With this plant here, I don't want any of this little fluffy stuff under here. I want it to focus on the top of the plant. Right now, it has taken the nutrients it's going to need from the bottom half of this plant. 90% of the bottom half of this plant is done. So it's almost like it did it itself. So that's telling me, yeah, maybe it's a good idea because the plant wants to drop all this stuff itself. And the only thing that's really, bad about leaving this stuff on here is pest management. Being powdery mildew or, bugs or whatever. We've got a lot more bugs around Minnesota than we ever had. This one here, let me feel it. Okay. There's a little bit of something going on in there for that, but, it's lower. This particular plant is in a little bit higher weed coverage, so I'm going to get rid of this branch. When you're doing this, make sure you got a clean, good snips. Keep your plant dry for the next like 10 to 12 hours. That way the holes that you're leaving here, the plant will have a chance to heal before it gets wet. If you have a activated aerated compost tea, which is what I usually make every week, if you have one of those, you can spray those open wounds and that'll put a protective covering of good microbes on there, the decomposers, the anaerobic microbes. What's up, brother? How's it going? This is Vega's greasy grape. We're going to do a lollipop on it. Actually, that's what we're doing. This is my first attempt at lollipopping. Seen several people do it in the YouTube University. And we're just going to take everything but the top. And I don't even think that's a third. So we're going to cut this into 4 pieces and we're just going to leave the top quarter of it. Remember, one of these branches are below the top quarter, it's getting cut off. If it's dense at all, I'm going to take the tip off and then smash it maybe and see if there's any good juice. Well, we'll dry it and then smash it. Anyways, yeah, this one, that ain't going to stand up on its own, but it does have a nice chunk. So we are going to strip it. So if we didn't have the top, if we didn't have it, cordoned off to where we know we're going to keep this much of the plant here, okay? But if we get something like this, that's nice and dense here, we're going to leave the top 3 nodes, which is 3 sets of branches, or not even 3. Once they get into the side branching, there's usually just 3 branches. So you get one over here, one over here, and one over here, one over here, and then a top one. Take everything below that off. So that's what we're going to do here. And some of these could also, probably, a couple of them could be smashed probably. And the reason why I don't do it, first of all, my plants last year were so big, they really didn't have any of this stuff because it would have all dried up and fallen off by the time it got as big as it was. Second of all, I don't like all the extra work. Third of all, I think the new gadget, since it spreads everything out so nicely, as long as you keep up on it, you don't have anything that's not the top foot of the plant, not top foot or so of the plant using our gadget. Some people are unfamiliar probably because they haven't been here long or whatever, but I've invented a plant trainer. It's not like any of the plant trainers you find out today. The reason why I can move this plant around and it's so evenly topped, the level's so top, or the top's so level, and the canopy so spread out is because we've been using my invention on these plants. Some of them a little more than others because, I've been so busy this year. My spare time was spent relaxing instead of making extra gadgets. That's what I call them. They're trainers. Instead of making extra trainers. But the time I spent relaxing was also spent on YouTube with all my friends and family now that I consider you guys family. A lot of you guys will never know how much, but you do. You guys have touched my inner soul with how cool people have been. And, shout out to Growing Old with their support to the community. And there's just too many people to shout out. But Growing Old's the one that, and then, no, not even just Growing Old, but Dr. Dank Nugs and Garden Cultivation, they're all special by having me on their shows. But then Growing Old, they put together just the neatest, compilation of different attractions, let's say. And I don't know where they really get. It's not hard to not know everybody on YouTube. You can't just click on everybody or whatever, but through their StreamYard, they've been able to pass out these wrenches to make it so easy for people to subscribe to other channels. All they have to do is click on that wrench and it goes right to their channel. Now, whether they're an active, whatever they call it, creator, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. Or not, I don't know. I mean, it tells you there, but you can subscribe. You don't have to subscribe, but I tend to subscribe whether this person is creating any content or not. Just to, I'm sure it somehow tells and maybe it's not a good thing, but the algorithm finds out that whether they're broadcasting cannabis stuff or not, that person probably likely supports cannabis if they're watching these cannabis shows. You got to believe the YouTube gods know what everybody's watching. We know what we know. People are watching us, so why wouldn't YouTube know? Now, I'm sure you'd have to ask YouTube AI, hey, have you seen any of this? Have you seen any of that? I don't know that AI would be able to just, I don't know, pick out any particular, I did some night vision videos, and it seemed like a couple of those made it past regulate the regulators, let's say. I'm just gonna get rid of all this stuff. Shoot. If it ain't one of these tops here that look like that whole thing's gonna be a cola, I'm gonna take it down to 5. If it's anything lower than this, coming from anywhere lower than that, and it looks like it's got a dead spot on it, which this one don't, I'm getting rid of it. It's already hanging below the branch, so anyway, it's just gonna go like this. At least this stuff here is pointed up, and it needs to be knocked over to not stand up. So we're just gonna take that off. Let's see these inside ones here. I'm gonna take off here just to open up the inside of this canopy a little bit. Hope everybody's got something to smoke on. If anybody has smoked any of that White Widow, let me know what you're thinking about it. And then let me know what you think about this lollipopping job. See, is there anything to this one? Ooh, there kind of is, but it's kind of ugly. Oh, that was something else I was going to say too. It sounds like you don't want to take more than 30% of the plant. But I'm gonna. Because this is the last time I'm going to touch this plant. I mean, that looks good there. When that fills in, it's not going to have sent any of that energy to working on any of this crap down here. It's going to send all its energy to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nodes. And then this one here has got 5, one behind it. And then the ones under here we'll get rid of. So, boom, boom. We'll leave 3 on that. On that one there, because it's gonna sun's gonna penetrate that first foot here. So this one inside here, I'm gonna leave that one on there. We're gonna get this leaf off of here, but we're gonna leave that one on there, and then we're gonna leave the 3 coming out. Maybe that's 4 now, but since it's in that top foot or so, we're gonna leave it on there. If it was down here. Like, I mean, I could just go to town on, dig right into all this stuff, but I'm gonna go slow. I don't want to really shock the piss out of it right away. But when we're done, this thing's gonna look, it's gonna look pretty crazy. And then we could probably, I do have a trellis net, so we could probably go with that route too, train it out, and then compare the way this reacts to trellising. Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. If we don't need to, I guess we don't need to, because it's going to naturally spread out a little bit as the weight packs on these tops, So we're probably not going to need trellis. What we may have to trellis to spread it out. What we may have to trellis is to trellis to keep it up, but I'm assuming that's only going to be these outside couple of branches, because these up here are going to be those. It ain't going to get enough weight on these to knock them over. This plant's structured too well. Too well. We can bend these branches down too a little bit. What I would do when bending branches, basically you're bending branches to open up branches to sunlight, but what I would do when bending branches, you don't want to come up here and just bend down like this. You want to kind of support by pushing up with your finger and then pulling down with your thumb and bending it right here and not tearing it down from here. Because this right here, the crotch of this one right here is where it's going to break. But if you support half the branch and bend it down, it's not going to break. It may fracture on you, and I don't like fracturing branches either, but it's not going to break in half. or it's not going to tear off. And if it does, use some, get some electrical tape out there. Give it 3 or 4 wraps around. My cream cheese out there, it was topped at 3 sets of nodes, so 6 branches. At the time it was growing, it was given a quarter turn each set of nodes. So then I had 6 branches, but going 6 sets of branches going in 6 different directions. And then the one facing the north, I was trying to kind of manipulate, say, the plant using my gadgets and a combination of the gadget and traditional method of training. And it didn't like it. So I went back to just my gadget, and that's how these plants have grown since. And this one, like I said, it was stunted for, I don't know how long it took for new leaves to come on. It was a few days, but after that frostbite, I'm surprised this thing got this big, and I'm pretty darn happy with it. Local Boy Genetics, Vega's Greasy Grape, Vega Genetics. Check them out. If you're in Minnesota, that's a good one. They did just come out with another cultivar, and I believe also an autoflower. I have had recent experience with some autoflowers. I did cheap out when my friend got some genetics, but I knew I was going to be messing with them, so I really didn't want to stunt them. I mean, you know, I knew there was a pretty damn good possibility I was going to be stunting them, which they never did. Surprising, they did very well. They grew like a son of a bitch. Just that they didn't have a whole lot of good flavor or nothing, but they were basically the variety pack of, you know, probably second testers or something like that. You know, ones you're not sure, but there's probably a good one in there somewhere. But I learned a lot about them suckers, and let me tell you, I've won a few packs of some seeds lately, and then I got one gifted to me from Dr. Dagnugs from that High Q Genetics. Believe his name is Stevan Levike, and you can check him out on Instagram, I guess. I don't have an Instagram account, so I haven't checked out his stuff. But if anybody does check it out, you can message me on the in the chat below, you know, the chat that everybody goes to and says, hey, what's going on afterwards, you know? If you didn't catch it live, you're leaving them messages. Yeah, you can leave a message sometime and tell me what's up. And I believe my email should be somewhere that you can find on them screens. And if you want to send me an email your grow, that'd be cool. Unless, of course, I've seen it, because a lot of them are on. A lot of you guys that I'm subscribed to do have content that I have been watching. But yeah, especially if we're from Minnesota. How's your grow going? Have you seen the bug worms? Have you run into them before? I haven't seen them before. I don't know. I've been lucky around here that we haven't seen that kind of stuff. But we're seeing it now because it's legal and accepted now. Now see how long that branch was there? You got to wiggle these things around a little bit. That one was super long, but it's not. It was so packed in there, it's not getting any light, and there's no chunks on there. Now it's got a little bit of a bubblegummy taste too. Anyways, that seed from my plant from last year. All right, so I got a male plant from somebody, and I pollinated a ice cream cake clone that I had, and I saved those seeds. But I think at the same time, either it was just a neighbor that's got something growing wild out in his backyard or something like that, which is 99% possible, or it caught some of my pollen, and that male pollinated my power plant. The power plant was from Sunwest Genetics. I picked him up. It was the first year legal grow. Oops, I'm going to cut this one off because there ain't nothing here. I mean, there's a tip, so I'm going to cut the tip off, save that, cut that branch off. Same thing with this. I mean, if it's not top foot, we're getting rid of it. If it's one like this, now it's a handed or a nice chunk there. We're going to save that one. But this one back here, we're going to get rid of that. Save that tip. Just because we're going to try and see what some hash from that's going to be like. And we can get that before we get any bud off of these plants. Speaking of which bud, let's see. If Aaron's watching, it's probably going to be 4, 5, 6 more weeks before we see anything. You can, if you'd like, bring them in to your like garage or whatever. Not necessary unless you get like a super bad freeze. In my area, we've got a lot of water, so it's that water keeps a lot of warmth around the ground area. So you might get some steam and stuff like that, but not a real lot of damaging frost or anything in the fall. In the spring you do because it works the opposite way for you. That water is so cold it's hard to warm up and hard to keep warm. So the sun will warm up during the day. It'll warm the air up during the day, but at night it will get cold enough to damage your shit. Now, Aaron, we can do this to that one too. It's structured a little differently. We didn't want to, make everything too complicated. And if you're not going to be right on top of some of this stuff, you don't need to mess with it. And that plant grew just fine the way it did naturally after being trained the first little bit, because it was trained a little bit when you got it. This one here I'm getting rid of. It's a lower. It's facing outward. I do like branches facing outward, but up here, not down here. So that means these are going to go. Fiskars are a good brand of trimmers, but if you're going to be working on several plants and you're not doing actual flower trimming, these less expensive trimmers here are just fine for doing this kind of stuff. And then you don't bring them to the next plant. You just leave them with this plant, So once you start working, if people aren't going to be hanging out the whole time, once you start working on the top part of the canopy, you're going to be taking any of the interfacing leaves off. Maybe not all of them, but anything that's covering a flower site, let's say. All right. Let's see. Top foot, well, not really. It's sticking out. It does have plenty of freaking strength to hold that up. So I'm going to leave this one here. That could be a good one. But we're going to take it down to just the top that will end up coming together and being a cola. And that's just a couple of nodes at the end here. Okay. And then that one's done. We're going to back here just a little bit. And since I know that any of this stuff already, instead of trying to find it, where it comes up in the canopy, I know that ain't making nothing. This one is though, so I'm going to leave this goofy one here. Especially once I clean out that top, that one's going to have some sunlight in on it. These are not. That's not. Okay, there's very little there, but I'll pop that off, put it in the pile. So I am, and it may be already uploaded. I think I did have one uploading, if I remember right. What I'm doing right now for bloom, I found some orchid bloom booster. Basically, I'm thinking it's somewhere along the same lines as like our Alaskan fish fertilizer. It's organic, so I'm putting it on some plants. It is like, I don't remember the ratio of NPK, but the NPK at certain points of your grow isn't important as far as in all the nutrients you're using. We're not exactly using fish fertilizer for nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium. This orchid bloom stuff, now, pro tip, but I'm going to have you investigate it yourself a little bit, but it's got a lot of the bacteria that people are manufacturing. The lactobacilluses, or any of the bacilluses that anybody might be familiar with. They're funguses and bacterias and yada yada. It's stuff that isn't on the label a lot of the times, only because it makes it hard, apparently, to do business with some of the regulations saying things have certain things in them, or certain amounts maybe of things. So when you look at some labels and you see, 1, 5, and 3, or 1, 5, and 1, or something like that, 1, 3, and 1, 5, 3, and 5, or whatever. That doesn't necessarily, that tells you that you're putting this into there, so you're buying it for one reason, but it's telling you how much of this other stuff's in it, just so you're not going overboard with it. You can take that fish fertilizer and dump a pile of that on your plants, but it does come with some nitrogen. So, in this state, you're not using it for the NP and K, although it's in it. You just got to be careful, and those other things are super, super beneficial to your plants. So, you know, sometimes some of that stuff's on there. The orchid bloom does have some of the description of other ingredients that are in the bottle you're buying. And it's mixed like 2 tablespoons. I don't remember if it's 2 tablespoons per gallon, maybe. That's usually what I think it is. No, it was tablespoon or 2 tablespoons, something like that, per quart. Let's see, where's this bad boy? Not very tall, so we're gonna get rid of it. So we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna keep that. Get rid of this. So what we're looking for by doing this is, like I said, it's gonna send all the nutrients to what's left. So anything, this stuff down here would have been growing. It would have been producing some kind of material. Now the plant's got all that energy. It's going to produce that material and it's going to give it up here instead of producing it all over. And being in pots, I can give it a turn every day, every 2 days, 4 times a day, whatever. So it's maximizing the sun exposure. You could also trellis it out if you wanted to. Because it's not tied down to anything, your options are all over the place. You got all kinds of options. And I'm just playing with this, It's a new experience for me. I'm interested in seeing what exactly this does. I don't have anything to base it off of when it comes to this plant particularly, but I've seen enough, and that's on the top half. I'm looking at this little nugget here. It's on the top foot, so I'm going to leave it there. But any of the small stuff underneath that top little nugget, I'm going to take off. But you can see it does take time to do this. So that's why I train my plants out as far as I can for as long as I can. And then when they go into the stretch, I give it another week of training usually, and then let them go up. And most of the time, all your side branching is headed straight up. What did I say about this one? That's a good little nug. I'll leave that. This one's facing out, but it's a nice strong one. We'll leave that, but we're going to take this other stuff that's in here. One of the other reasons why I don't like doing this kind of stuff is because it's damage to the plants. And with my system, it doesn't stress out the plants like fracturing and trying to weave them into things, or fracturing and bending them into things, bending them into smaller things. It's pretty natural. Yeah, let's see, there's something there. Boy, barely. So we're just going to take everything to the top here. I feel like one of them guys doing paintings. Okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to give it a little bit of this. And then I'm looking at this nice palette of purples and yellows and greens. But yeah, so, this defoliating is opening up wounds. Not only is it stressing the plant out, this one's getting out of here. And it sounds like I'm arguing with myself as I'm doing this, but it's all in the structuring of the plants. And if I would have had time, I don't have a lot of time to do anything. Boy, that's got a bubbly chirp too, Andrew. I don't have a lot of time to do anything all at one time. So I got 5 minutes to do something here. Once in a while, I can get away and do it. 5 minutes I can do this here and there. So I focused on a couple of plants. The rest of them I did what I could just to see. I knew I didn't want to grow Christmas trees. So I did whatever I could up to a point to where I wasn't wasting a whole lot of time. Which is why I came up with this idea. I don't have to be out there a bunch. Now, if I would have had big enough trainers and enough trainers, I didn't have enough. I mean, I had enough. I could have made more. It was just, I didn't need to make the plants any bigger, any wider. Well, I would have loved to go a little wider just to see, but I didn't need the extra yield. So I just focused on those couple of things and went to town on every other thing I worked on during the summer. Winter is a little different story. I like to stay in shape, so I do a few things. It's hard to get back into that system now after couple of hip surgeries, cancer surgery, hernia surgery after I did start getting into shape again. All that fun stuff. This ought to be interesting to see how this takes off now. I expect to see it sit for a few days, which very rarely do I see one of my plants not growing for a couple of days. But I'm expecting this to have a good stunt going when we're done. Just slow it down a little bit. But it's also going to send some signals to the rest of the plant that, hey, you might want to, first of all, quit focusing on that little stuff on the bottom. And since we're getting colder here, you might want to start throwing out some good freaking sticky nugs because you're in Minnesota, Greasy Grape. It gets cold here. We get snow here. We get snow at the end of October. We get snow a little earlier than that too. I mean, I've seen snow in November, Thanksgiving. So yeah, don't dawdle. The Fall Fest is coming. I gotta get my pumpkins ready. Let's see what else we're gonna do for the Fall Fest. I'm bringing my pepper plant up there. I have a pepper plant that's trained out. I don't know what the temperatures. Oh, I think it's supposed to get cold today here tonight. I'm gonna go grab that plant. And we'll bring it in here and I'll show you guys. You guys may have all seen it before. I have to ungadgetize it. plant. That pepper plant is, what did I say? It's 33 inches wide and 24 inches deep and 14 inches tall. I'm going to unhook this cord here. I was trained out with my trainers too. Not bad looking. It'll have probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 nice sized peppers on it, I would hope. Anyways. Hey, what the hell? Let's see, what do we got here? I wasn't really paying attention too much to the dang diggity here, but we got Ogo here on yeah, we got bongs up. Finally, huh? What's up? That's probably Andrew from Ogo. Or Alexandra maybe, or Jax maybe, one of those guys. I know there's a few more of them. Growing old, how's it going, buddy? Both y'all, I hope you guys are doing great. This is my first attempt at defoliating, and that is a trained pepper plant. I'll get behind it here. It's 14 inches tall, 33 inches wide. I busted off part of it practicing some different types of training, so it's only 24 inches deep, but it's a generic brand potting soil that I beefed up with some different dry amendments, some biochar, stuff like that. Then I planted a cover crop in there of a leaf lettuce. And then when the leaf lettuce was finished, I cut that off. And now the roots of the leaf lettuce and my compost teas and fermented plant juices are what are feeding that. I'm going to try and keep that thing going through the winter and see how it turns out. But growing old, I stumbled upon recently, and I got to get some more now, but this here is a bud, okay, off of a cut that this guy has had for 20 years. White Widow. And it's one of the original White Widows. It's not something that's been recently done. Like I said, he's had it for 20 years. And when I taste this thing, it brings back so many memories. There can be only one. And I think this is the one. And I'm going to grow this thing next year. I believe he gave me the option to, let me do that. This thing here was this big in the bag. It was just huge. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I found. And boy, the smell on that. Anyways, Ogo, we got bongs up. Let's see. If anybody that's in the chat not familiar with Growing Old and Ogo, they're creators also. Growing Old's the ones that are doing the fine specials. I love those specials that they're doing. They're very creative people. The Monster Plants is great. The It's Alive is a great one. This thing is nice and alive, boy. This is my first attempt. Anybody that's coming in here recently at my lollipopping, because I train my stuff out usually, my plants are only inches tall at the top. My canopies don't have any of this, most of them. The big ass one does, but that golden goat, it's way down here, I only grow the tops of plants. I try not to grow unnecessary stuff down here, but anyways, here we go. Like I promised. Thanks, bud. Everybody else. Got another whiteout. Anyways, let's see if we can get a look at the top of this plant. I bet we can, because I can move these things around pretty easy. We're almost 3/4 of the way done. Not bad. But I like that smoke, man. It hits you in the lungs like dabs do, or like a pen would, or whatever. Anyways, I think I am going to probably, well, I don't know. Probably not. I don't know. I was thinking about trellising again, but I don't think it needs it. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, I love that pepper plant. I hope it comes across when I'm looking at it on the screen there. It doesn't totally scream at me that it is as big as it really is, but I think it shows. And boy, does it got flowers on it. It did have one round of peppers on it, like between 10 and 14 peppers. Not all of them got huge. There was probably 6 decent sized peppers, and then everything kind of stopped. I'm sure everything was growing slowly, but everything kind of stopped, and any new flowers that were on there flowered, turned yellow, and fell off. So that's when it was half of that size. I picked them off, let it grow again, one more kind of cycle, getting bigger, and now this is where I broke off the piece. So now that there's sunlight exposing these new, bare nodes in here, it started growing new branches. So my theory is you can grow this as long as you want, and you can grow it out or whatever. But once you get limited to space again, you don't have to worry about growing them roots up anymore, or growing a new plant with new roots. You just cut off this stuff out here, and you grow new branches. So training even pepper plants out can totally be beneficial to a long life plant. You could do that with these too. Cut the buds off, save just a little bit of new growth, grow that out again if you want. I want to bring this one to the Fall Fest, so I'm keeping it warm at night. These flowers should be popping any day. And then we'll have probably 25 peppers on there, although they'll be small, for our Fall Fest. And people will be like, I'm going to put on there, trained by me, with my phone number. There are a couple of nurseries that show up there, local nurseries. And I can imagine, one or two of them may have some kind of idea about what I've been trying to do here. And maybe I'll see what they have to say, what they think. I don't know. Maybe they'll come up with the cash to make the trainers. I don't know. I'm not in any hurry. I'm having fun. I'd like to, finally be able to come clean to everybody or whatever. But it's not easy around here. Either way, it would be easier if I could say, hey, we've had some success, even though this may be taboo to some people. Not everybody's the same. I don't know. And I know it's a lot healthier than a lot of other stuff. But that's no excuse either. I mean, you could probably get away quite a while with eating gummies. You don't have to smoke this stuff. But it doesn't react, or some people don't react the same to edibles. Some people don't react at all to edibles. Some people really get freaked out on edibles, especially when they're like, they take some and they're like, oh, gee, I don't feel anything, so I'm going to take some more. Tell you what, I had a couple of 160 milligram gummies, and I took a quarter of one of those and sat here in the dark for like an hour the other day. Basically telling myself, Jesus Christ, get off your ass. What are you doing just sitting here in the fucking dark? But I didn't for like another 20 or 25 minutes after that, and then I did get up and turn the TV on, I think. I don't remember. Might have went and took a nap. I don't know. Yeah, if I was sitting here in the dark, it might have been pretty late at night too, so probably nap time. Anyways, yeah, I don't like seeing all these bare branches. Those are all bud sites to me. So, I mean, this is grown this way basically because it was necessary. It was unavoidable, let's say. I couldn't spend the extra time training this one out. And it was sick, so frostbite doesn't do a whole lot of good when you only get left with a stick coming out of the ground. And then it was hotter than hell, so well, maybe that was good for it. I don't know. I should take a look at one of these little nuggets under the loop too. Let's see. What's that over there? There we go. This is definitely better. So that's the little tip of the nug we've got here. And we've got my jeweler's loop with the light, LED light. I'm just going to take a look at the tip of this and see what kind of resin production or crisp THC production or trichome production. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. See how much trichome production is on this little nug? And holy moly. Yeah, that's I mean, the family has got crystals on it. You're doing it. It could use a wash. I should probably hit it with the hose tomorrow morning. But I mean, it's not going to affect, it's on the leaves, really. There is some dandelion fluff in it, but that's not a big deal to me either. Especially this one, because it's not going back on there. Let me try and open up this inside a little bit. I want to see down in there. All right. don't see any bug activity in there. And all those leaves, yep, okay, let's see this one here. Oh yeah, there's a few. All right, so sugar. Yeah. So every leaf on there has trichomes on it. They're not, some of them wilted up leaves. There's not a lot, but definitely trichomes on there. So those pieces are going to smash 3 or 4 days maybe. They'll be put on the fast track for drying. And we're just going to keep going down on this thing. Anything that's not the last 3 or 4 nuggets on here. And then you can feel them a little bit. If they don't feel like they're round, get rid of them. Or if you can feel them there, but there's not a hard chunk in there of some sort, get rid of it. At this point, you want the hard stuff to get harder. All right, this is nowhere near the top. And it was topped at some point for some reason. So, I wasn't going to do anything anyways. All this stuff. So the top is gone. There's 2 little half nuggets right here. And after it was topped, the energy started going to the side branches. Well, none of these side branches were ever going to do anything inside here. So we get rid of the whole thing. Okay. Now, as I was saying before, this is a little later to do this, from what I understand. But this was a healthy enough plant now. And we're not leaving a lot left on here for the plant to focus on. So, and pretty much my whole grow this year has been an experiment. This could have went horribly wrong. It still may. I don't know what that cream cheese is going to turn out like. Are those buds, since we're spreading it out, it's going to spread out the energy. I expect to see smaller buds than it would normally have, right? Because you got them evenly distributed between all of them. But is there a point to where it gets too small and you're spending more time trimming than you would if it was a bigger chunk? Now, let's look in there and see if they've got a critter in there. I'm hoping that since that big ass bastard is in the ground and that it hasn't started showing any deficiencies, that it's not getting, manufactured nutrients, so it's not going to run like a race car, but it's not needing for anything. And these plants should, see, that's one of the reasons why people have to flush and stuff like that, is because they're using nutrients that are freaking already like not even just plant available, but they're chelated, and it's like getting an injection. They don't have a choice but to take it up. When you're doing organic, and that's why, in my opinion, organic tastes better, is the plant's taking what it needs. So this plant isn't going to have huge, it isn't going to have buds like that White Widow. That White Widow had big chunks on it. But it's going to be a broader flavor, effect, evenness, a broader evenness, you know. So, and you're not going to, with this plant, you're not going to have any of that larf anyways, but when you're training them out too, you're not going to have any of that, to a point, any of that larfy stuff. Let's look at the top here. Yeah, there's a lot of purple in here. That's pretty. And a lot of white crystals. And to me, well, right now I'm seeing a lot of white hairs. So even though I'm seeing a lot of cloudy crystals, unless that thing doesn't turn white, it's not done yet. And because none of these are filled in here, I know it's not done yet. But by looking at the crystals, to me, it looks like there's a lot of cloudy. So I don't know what all that has to do with that. Let's see. Yeah, I know, right? 20 years you had that thing. Sorry, I'm not keeping up on the comments, but I'm gabbing and trying to cut this thing up a little bit without cutting myself. But yeah, anybody in the comments, there's a few, or has been a few people popping in that I know personally from my normal life. They'd be Andrew, Jason, Aaron, and then there's probably several others. If you're not right in the chats here, I don't know you're here, but the ones that I do know. And then, you know, other people that I know from my YouTube life, Ogo, Growing Old. I don't think we talked personally. This may be the first time we're even chatting personally, but we do read each other's comments a lot and comment on each other's stuff. And we have, oh yeah, we've texted or we've emailed, you know, between each other or whatever about those videos. I do like the way this smells. It does have a little bit of that bubblegum smell like that power plant. And I think I was starting to talk about that too, and then I got sidetracked. But that power plant with the sticky branches but no buds, I hope it starts, well, it did look like it was going to start flowering, so we're going to say, yeah, it's going to flower, but I hope it hurries up and flowers because it's not doing nothing yet, or it's barely doing anything, and because it has sticky branches, I want to see buds on that thing, so I want to see what the buds look like. Oh, I don't know what the hell. I want to see what the branches look like. I'm going to look at these branches ones. They're not anything sticky at all. You can feel there's something on there. There's probably those spiky trichomes, but I doubt there's any bulbous. Yeah, no bulb, but definitely the haired ones. Definitely. And there's not a whole lot of leaves either as far as bulbous trichomes. But there are definitely some in the buds. So, I mean, there's a lot in the buds. And they're very large. But if anything is behind the name, it says greasy, so I imagine it's going to be, I mean, sticky's great. I love sticky. A lot of people are looking for sandy these days, I guess. Because it washes better. I'm a fan of washing too, so I don't blame them. Oh, let's see. Now, see, this one's on the outside of the plant. Has it got any chunk to it? Not really. What about this one? E. Top foot. Yeah, all right. Since we're getting some extra nutrients sent to the top here, I'm going to leave this. I mean, this one does have some chunk to it, right? This one here, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Damaged leaf, get rid of it. You can get rid of the fingers of the leaves. If there's like 5 good ones and 1 bad one, get rid of the finger. It's looking good here. We gotta get inside here. Yeah, it is what it is. I'd like to see people using my trainers. So anybody out there watching that can, I don't know how fast 3D printers can print out stuff. I worked at a plastic manufacturing place, and they injected molds, and I would imagine that would have to be the way to go. But that was, I don't have any experience with 3D printers. I've seen, the ones on TV from years ago where they're trying to show you they're advertising them or whatever. And seems like they're like a one thing at a time type thing. And I think we're gonna have to have somebody that can make many, many, many thousands of them, because there's gonna be a demand for them. I mean, I don't know how many people that have watched that completely understand what I'm talking about. I don't know there's many people that have watched that well, I know 90% of the people don't have the resources or the connections to do anything about it. So that's another thing. I know 90% of the people that can do anything don't even know I exist or this thing exists. They haven't seen the videos. Maybe I'm not doing a really good job at promoting it or showing it or something. Maybe I'm missing something. A couple people mentioned Shark Tank. I don't think I want to do something like that. Maybe they wouldn't even do a cannabis thing, but it's not just cannabis. I can train pepper plants like that one there. And it's really not me training them. My idea does all the work, I guess. I mean, bud trainers, he doesn't train your plants. He had an idea. And maybe it wasn't even his idea. I don't know. Where did that idea come from? I've seen people growing plants that are similar to this one for sure. I don't know too many that have grown 11. I know there's people that grow wide plants, and then, same width, but not the same height. That's something else I want to bring up too. With this method, in some states, you have to be behind a fence, right? In Minnesota, you have to be behind a fence. It can't be seen from the street. So, I mean, you could have this nice, beautiful white picket fence, but if you're growing a Christmas tree that's freaking 14, 9, 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall, people are going to see it. If you train your stuff out like a shrub, and put your white picket fence up around, then you can see it. And what I'm finding out now is with the flavors that are around these days, you may not even smell it. You may smell it, but you may not know what you're smelling. 90% chance you won't. Because of the bubblegum flavor one I have now, a couple of them that are bubblegum flavor. One that's my own cultivar that I can't wait. Not that it was intentional, but it was more of a pollen chunking. It was my own pheno hunt, I found it in a pheno hunt, so fuck it, it's mine. I couldn't tell you what half of the pheno was, but I can tell you what one half of it was. Outdoor, you're never gonna know what's pollinating you, but I tell you what, interesting, and I will say fact. Thanks for hanging out, growing old. I appreciate you. I know I probably missed that comment, but you guys are awesome. Where was I with that? Should rewind it and find out. Let me find out. Hold on. Yeah. I couldn't tell you what half of the pheno was, but I can tell you what one half was. But I tell you what. Okay, now I remember where I was going with that. I've popped seeds from bags before, That's basically where I got my genetics for the first several months that I've grown. If you get my drift. Anyways, and then, popped a seed from wherever, probably some brickweed from Mexico or whatever. But then grew that plant out and then didn't have any seeds, so I planted some seeds from that plant that I had from the bag. And then twice, I consider what I popped out of those bags to be almost unicorns. I mean, I had one that was so skunky before I had any idea that when I was growing that this thing would be skunky or whatever. I never had any idea of drying it. It was always dried up in the attic. So 90% of the terps were burnt off. So I'm now, because of there's not a lot of houses around here. And it's old farm property from some hillbillies. No, not hillbillies, hippies. I am searched every freaking square foot or square mile of what's behind our place here, or I can't follow anything or search anything out across the freeway. But I want to say there's probably a patch of something around here that's got some good genetics in it that's on a regular basis pollinating some of my stuff, and stuff from it seems to be fire. So I don't know. It's just that not everything I've grown from bag seeds, but a couple of them that I've grown from bag seeds were friggin' amazing. And were not hard to drag cure. This thing's looking all right. Probably getting a couple of days. I'll probably pop off some of them other leaves that are looking a little more deficient here. But so, anyways, this is one of my plants that are a little more portable. The golden goat, I would have a hard time getting up here. I could get it up here, no doubt. And it's a little easier now that there's been a four-wheeler packed through there, and I can. It's wider open. I just had a little path for me to walk through to get out there. It's a couple 100 feet from the house. But eventually, the ones that are in pots are probably going to be coming up here. I mean, no reason why they can't. Being as though they'll be, a little disguised. They're not big, tall Christmas trees. I can keep them in some tall grass if I need to. I can keep them in my fenced-in garden, which that's where they're going. It's going back in there. It's been in there. The other ones are fenced up out in a cattail swamp. All right. I can just imagine. Actually, I'm not. I am imagining. I can hear Andrew from Ogo saying, "There's Corgan." Oh, I know what he said. Bongs up, everybody. Well, you know what? I'm gonna say, bongs up, everybody. And if you're 45 or older, talk to your doctor. Schedule a colonoscopy. My doctor saved my life, and then my surgeon, my doctor, set in motion my surgeon to save my life. So I can be here to do this kind of stuff, and I'm pretty damn happy about it. And I think others will be too. I mean, nobody's going to jump on anything as far as sponsoring this gadget, for sure, until they see the final product. Branches that are holding themselves up, flowers that are forming and finishing. Because these plants are bigger, they also flower a heck of a lot later. It seems like they have to build up, and it's probably the case, build up their hormones, their flowering hormones, while and before and after, and during, whatever, during flower. And the bigger your plants are, it must take a little longer to do that, So that's why I try and build strong roots. You want strong roots. And part of the theory behind my stabbing of the roots is then once it's root bound, it senses that it's root bound. If you make some extra space in that pot by, not violently stabbing, you can just shove a stick down into your roots. What have we got? We got all kinds of stuff I can stick in there. What does everybody want to use? We got big screwdrivers. We got hole punches. We got this big ass pencil. Knife. I could stab it with a knife. What this is doing then is basically the same thing your worms are doing, all right? Now, they're not going to be stabbing through roots per se so much, but they're going to be making holes in your root ball. Since I'm using a knife, let's take a look at that root ball. All right, what do you think of my roots? Anyways, that's pretty root bound. But because I periodically stab those roots, usually something with something around, you know, the plant continues to grow roots in that new space, and it doesn't tell the plant. Basically, how a plant, I'm assuming how a plant knows it's root bound is because it'll get a little bit of nutrients for a little bit, because it's when you pour it on, it's kind of working its way around the outside of the pot or the root ball, the inside of the pot, but the outside of the root ball. And it's not penetrating the root ball, the mass. So it's only getting this light little shot of energy. And that's when you start seeing your deficiencies. If you open up that root ball by giving it a few pokes every couple of days, water is able to absorb the whole thing without having to slowly let it in, because it's hydrophobic, because it's too dry or it's too dense of a mass. And since we are in soil, we're not infested with bad microbes or bad, funguses or whatever, those roots are perfectly fine. They will, cap themselves off just like all these branches are here, and it'll go on. But the root mass will be open to more water, which is your nutrient, carrying your nutrients, and solubilizing your nutrients. So this is what I use usually. And this also tells you how wet your soil is. Okay, so I know inside there's pretty dry. I know that it's pretty heavy, but if that was full of water, it would be a lot heavier. So tomorrow morning, and because it is root bound, it's going to need more watering. More watering more often, too, if it's really root bound. But what I'm doing here seems to help a lot. So I'm going to do that 8 to 10 times with this little one. If it was, Jesus. If it was a bigger round steak, I wouldn't do it as many times. Yeah. All right, so now when I go and water in the morning, not only is water going to penetrate the root ball, what I'll do first is just give it a splash. Okay, give it like 30 seconds to seep in, and then you can start adding water moderately to aggressively, however much you're going to water it. That is plant dependent on how much you're going to water. You're going to water to the size of the plant, not the size of the pot. But You could dump 5 gallons on there and not do any effect if it's just running out the bottom. If it's rolling around the outside of the pot and rolling, going right through the bottom. A lot of people will have a little tray underneath there, so it will hold a couple inches. That ain't a bad idea. I keep mine in the ground usually, so I'll have a hole in the ground because then it won't tip over. Have a hole in the ground, and depending on if I'm feeding or not, if I'm feeding, I'll give it a shot through the top to start the water absorbing into the root mass. And then I'll take 5 gallons of water and dump it in the bottom in the hole. That's going to prepare the hole, get that wet, but also, start to saturate that area around the pot to where when I do go to fully water this thing, I'll take 5 more gallons of water because I have a well right next to my plants. Take 5 more gallons of water, dump it in the hole, and then take like a gallon of nutrients and water it in the top. The nutrients I was using was fermented plant juices and compost teas, also with some fish fertilizer, magnesium sulfate, and what else was I watering in there? Oh, Super Thrive. And then I was peeling the bark off of some willow, steeping it in 5 gallons of water, and then that's the water I was using to mix everything in for the nutrients. And it seems like that seems to be working. My compost teas were different, mix of different ones. The veg ones were bone meal, blood meal, magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salt, some silica gel. Now I don't know if that was the right kind or not. I'm assuming it is. That's what the direction I was pointed in from a couple places. And then there was a few other things. There was honey, my own castings, my own biochar that I made and inoculated. And then the flour. And then the fermented plant juice. I was also feeding them. The flour formulas were worm casting, some fish fertilizer, the basic stuff without there was no blood meal in that one. And then sliced up zucchini, cut up pumpkin, some fermented pumpkin, banana peels in an activated aerated compost tea. And that other stuff too was in that compost tea also. And then I was using the recycled remnants of the first few. That's where I got my microbes from for the last two ferments, or the last two compost teas were from all the bags of the leftover stuff. So there would have been nitrogen in there, but there would have been the bone meal starting to break down in high concentrations. And I was hitting those with everything pretty much. I don't know. I don't remember where I was hitting with. I don't know. Anyways, this this looks pretty good now. These little nuggets here are showing up a little better to me. That's cool. I like the way that looks. Completely standing on its own, unsupported by anything. And those nuggets are showing up pretty nicely. Let's see. Oops, I'm still connected to a umbilical here. Anyways, there we go. You can see through that. All right. And I didn't see any kind of bug pressure on there, so I'm happy about that. I mean, we've got the aphid stuff. I'm talking active right now. Bug activity. It's nice as this thing is right at chest level. Work very easily. Right now we're taking the inward facing and anything covering any sights, so that one's coming off. This one's coming off, even though some of them are the prettiest. I mean, the petioles of the leaves here, the bigger leaves, the fan leaves, are turning purple. And a lot of times people freak out and they think that's a potassium deficiency. Now this leaf is senescing, facing out, and beautiful. So I'm going to leave that one on there. It is kind of covering the bud side a little bit, but that's all right. Anything facing in or covering a bud site. That's covering. Oh, I was talking about how I don't like to do a lot of this stuff. Just solely two things. Because it takes extra time, and I don't like wounds on my plants, especially in the humid area that I live in. See, that's gonna get some sun. That's gonna get sun. Get that out of here. Appreciate everybody that came to hang out tonight. I appreciate everybody that hung out the other night. That was fun. Sorry, I'm gonna have to look at them comments here because what I need. Oh, I should turn on the comments on the TV is what I should do. Then I can probably see them. Anybody out there? Hello. Anyways, what the hell time is it? Oh, it's 10:30. That ain't bad. Everybody like and subscribe. We're cleaning up this plant here. This is my first attempt at lollipopping anything. Prior to this, I grew big round bushes and Christmas trees before that. And now I'm training plants, and we've got one that's 5 feet tall and 11.5 feet wide. And then we have another one that is about 7 feet wide, completely round, and probably 20 inches tall, if that. Maybe a little more than that, I guess. Depending on where you start counting. Let's see, I think I found it finally. Get up there. Live chat. That's what we're looking for. Okay, boom. That should pop up there. Anyways, bongs up. Oh, we better pack a bong. No, you know what? Starting to see more and more of these around here. I don't think it's a bad thing anymore. So, got a lot of stuff covered in inside stuff here, so we're going to get rid of some of that. Plants like these are not hard to grow. Depending on what you want to try and do with them, they're pretty friendly. But it's, yeah, what you're trying to get out of them. I mean, if you want to get a range of different quality, grow the plant up and don't do nothing to it. If you want to grow one kind of quality, all high quality, get yourself start out with good genetics. Either spend the money on expensive, brand name seeds, feminized seeds, so or at least, especially if they're a well-known bona fide genetic company, you'll be able to call them, get some seeds, spend the money, and probably come out of it with a couple of winners. Or you can spend a little bit of money on a bunch of seeds and do your own pheno hunt. But because I'm limited on how many plants I can have around here, I try to go with since I've been able to access bona fide genetics, I will always try and use bona fide genetics. Unless I'm in a pheno hunt and I am doing a one plant. Well, actually, I have a couple plants that are seeds, that are basically you don't know what you're going to get until you get to the end, right? And that is a pheno hunt, basically. If you're going with clones, you're going to know at least grown a certain way that your plant will produce fire if they're bona fide. If they're bona fide and they live a happy life the way they're originally grown, then you will get fire genetics back, or fire back, fire in, fire out. But your plant is at the mercy of its weakest link. So if you're the weakest link, you're better off leaving your plant alone, right? Unless you're trying to learn, and learning is experimenting, and that means experimenting means failure a lot of times. We're experimenting right now. And if this thing all of a sudden quits growing and doesn't do nothing, then we know we failed. Now that's a decent little chunk there. Take a look at it quick. See if we can do this here. Boo. I don't know, I can't get that right there. Yeah. It worked better on the bigger loop, but hey, that was kind of cool, I thought. Let's see, try it again one more time. It's crystally. Yeah, that doesn't help. All right, oops, shit. Okay, well, I lost that now. Okay, sweet. Well, now we know we can do that, so we can, oh, hell. Probably look at this then. See what this looks like. We're going to turn the light off. I don't know if that's necessary or not. Not bad. All right. So, now that plant there, if all those fill in, which I expect them to do, we could get quarter pound to half pound, probably quarter pound out of that thing, which I'll take. I mean, it seems like this thing's gonna do well. I mean, that top one here. See, that top one's a good one. Where's our top branch? So here's our top. So I've got top there. It looks like at 6 nodes. Okay, because there's branches underneath this split here. The split is where it was actually topped. So that's 2, and then there was 2 underneath. It looks like one busted off, another one busted off, or I cut it off. And then we got these 2, which are secondaries. They're remains, but there were lower mains. The 2 mains are right here. They got topped, and over there it got topped at the same height, pretty much. Just walking through what I did with this. I think I'm gonna leave those. Those could chunk up. Yeah, that's a chunky. These buds here are ones that my buddy Andrew, when he was trimming, he trimmed them, and he said, "I've never seen such small nugs that were so hard." So I'm like, that's what I want to hear. One, because of the way the plant was grown, I didn't stress it. So right now, what I'm doing now was never done to my other plants. So I'm going to see for the first time here what this does. If it stresses it out hardcore, or if this, maybe it takes 2 days and then all of a sudden takes off. Maybe it takes off tomorrow. Maybe because I don't know what it looks like now, really, I'm not familiar with it. Maybe it'll just take the hell off like crazy. This one looks like it might have been one that had budworms and I popped the top off. That's a dense little ball there. I do expect it to do well. But now that it's stripped down like that, apparently, it will all of a sudden chunk up. Well, normally it would if it was done at the right time. I don't know if this was the right time or not. It seemed like the right time to me. We just took off some green leafy material, but everything else was dead and drying or dead and dying. There's still a few like that, but I'm gonna leave them. And now the focus is gonna go to the top of the plant. And maybe we'll be doing this from now on. Who knows? I do like having branches straighten completely out and having all those node spaces producing. If I could, I would take out this whole section here and lower it down there and just grow this much. Oh wait, I can. I can't anymore on this one, but if I started over, I could do it. What I'm going to do next year, though, I'm going to if I top the plant, which I probably will, because I don't really care to have a bent over branch so much hanging out. But here, what was going with that? Now I remember. I'm not going to top these branches. I'm going to let those grow. I don't like that this is because I was letting it grow this way. I thought it was necessary to top it. Because I had topped the ones from last year, the side branches, I topped those. I thought I needed to do it again this year. But I don't think I will next year, at least on one plant. I'll take the tip of the top and then spread everything else out at 3 sets of nodes, 6 branches. And then stretch it out as close to the ground as I can while leaving a little room for watering. The golden goat, it's not hard to water, but I had to find the right spot to start watering because it's so low. Anywho, that's what I got. Open up your bud sites to light the top foot of the plant. The plant will focus on the top foot of the plant, and then anything left over, it would mess around with stuff down here, but We're not growing the stuff down here because we don't want that larvae stuff. So I topped this plant. I defoliate and lollipop that plant just to see what it'll do. And I got a feeling after a couple of days, it's going to just take off. Thanks everybody for watching, hanging out. I appreciate everybody that stopped in. I'm going to clean up this mess. And I don't know, I got a couple of things I got going on tomorrow, but you know what else I'll be doing? I'll be checking out my plants, taking a few videos, reminding people they got to get a colonoscopy. Yeah, other than that, peace.